This is cs952, Introduction to Web Technologies and Design. So in our last video we added in our meta tags. We're going to move on now and we're going to start adding some actual content to our web page. We haven't actually added any content yet. So here we go. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to switch to my extra small view. Now we haven't talked too much about this yet, but when we're looking at our Dreamweaver interface, I'm going to switch to just live view here temporarily. And I'm going to press the F4 key, which is going to hide my additional panels over here. And what we have across the top are visual media queries. So this is a fancy Dreamweaver term for how are people going to be looking at your website. If you want to see what your website is going to look like on a mobile device, you click on this bar here, the kind of the green looking color, and it says the maximum width now is going to be 767 pixels. So this is going to be, and this is called our live view scrubber. We can resize this, and what we're doing is we're changing the viewing width of our website. So for instance, an iPhone 4 has a viewing width of around 450 pixels. So if I set my scrubber bar here and I have my page loaded, I'm going to see what it's going to look like on an iPhone. Now if I'm using a tablet device, they have a wider view. So if I click on this bar now, my live view scrubber goes out and this is a wider view of the site. This is the medium view, which is 992 pixels, and then finally we have the large view. Now Bootstrap, these different breakdowns that we have for different viewports, these come to us from Bootstrap. So Bootstrap says anything that's in the smaller range, we're going to call it extra small. So you can see there's a little XS next to the numbers that show us the size of our the width of what we're viewing. And then the next one is just SM, that stands for small. And as we scroll over, we go to MD, that's medium. And as we make it even bigger, it goes to LG, and that's large, which is a little bit hard to see on the screen. We'll get into that more when we get into the Bootstrap responsive elements. But first, I'm going to click on the little green bar to put myself into the small view. And I want to bring back my panels because I need to see my insert panel. So I'm going to hit the F4 key on the keyboard, and that restores the view of my panels. And what I want to do is I want to add in my navigation bar. So here's how we're going to do that. The navigation bar is inside of the body of our website. Remember we talked about how the HTML tag holds everything in your website. You have the head tag, that's kind of like the rules of the game, the setup for the website, and then the body. The actual body is the content, what you see on the web page. So I'm going to click on my body tag because this is where I want to add my navigation. I want to add it inside of the body. It's going to be a part of the main part of the website. I'm going to insert this, so I click on my insert panel, and I'm going to insert a Bootstrap component. Now, if you don't see Bootstrap components here, you can click on this little arrow. You might be seeing HTML, and you want to choose Bootstrap components, and we're going to add a navigation bar, and it's going to be a navigation bar that is fixed to the top of our page, meaning that as you scroll up and down on your website, the navigation bar is always at the top of the website, always visible. So this is a navigation bar that's always visible at the top of the website. If I click on this little drop down arrow, you can see there's actually several different kinds of navigation bars. There's the basic navigation bar, the one that we will be using, which is fixed to top. There's one that's fixed to the bottom. You don't see that too often. And then you have an inverted navigation bar, which is basically the same thing as the main navigation bar, but with different colors. So you want to make certain, it's very, very important that you choose navigation bar fixed to the top, because when you do that, you're going to get a lot of code automatically added to your website, and you want to make sure that you get this step right. So make sure that you've got your body tag selected in the DOM panel. We're looking at the insert menu, and you're going to click on navigation bar fixed to the top. So let's do that. Let's click on that. And now we have our navigation bar fixed to the top. Now what's interesting is because we're using Bootstrap, this is if you were viewing this website on a mobile device. This is the kind of collapsed menu that you're used to seeing with a mobile device. If I just open this up a little bit larger, if I move my live view scrubber, you can see that now my navigation bar really fills out and we can see all of our menu items. This would be on a wider device, you would actually have all of your navigation elements. When you go to your mobile device, it's going to collapse that navigation bar. Next thing I want to do is where we have the word link, I want to make this the button that takes us to our home page. So there's two things that I want to do. I want to add in a little icon of a home, and I want to get rid of this text that says link. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add in this home icon, and this is going to be using Glyphicon, which is built into Bootstrap. When you get the Bootstrap framework, the Glyphicon folks have included a whole bunch of free icons for your use, and these are SVG, Scalable Vector Graphics. We learned a little bit about these in Module 3 when we were learning about CSS. So I've clicked on that word link, okay? Now if we look here in our DOM panel, you can see that we went from having nothing in the body of our website except for those two script tags that are down there, to we've got this navigation element that's been added. If I open up the navigation element, you can see there's a lot of little parts inside of our navigation to represent all the links, all the buttons inside of our navigation. So again, I'm going to click on my link button, and when I do that, the DOM panel says here, you have clicked on an anchor tag that's inside of a list item, and it's a member of the active class because it says .active. Remember, classes begin with a period. And if I open that up, I can see I've got an anchor, which is a link, and right now there's it's showing me that I've got a span element in there. There's actually a little bit more than that. If I go and look under split view, and let me click on that again, there I can see there's that word link. So we're going to get rid of this word link, and we're going to replace it with the Glyphicon. So here's how we're going to do it. I clicked on the parent element, which is the list item, and I've clicked on my anchor, and I am ready to insert a Glyphicon that represents the home. So what I do is I've got my anchor selected, so let's just click on live view. I'm going to click on my anchor tag, Glyphicons, and I'm going to choose home, and this is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see this little box open up that says, do you want to insert this before the anchor tag, after the anchor tag, or do you want to choose nest? Now let's go through the step where you can actually see we're going to click on the nest button. The nest means put it inside of whatever I have selected. So I'm going to click on the nest button, and now you can see we've got this little house, and right next to it is the word link, which I really don't want the word link. So now let's go back to split view, and the word link. If I click there on the word link, I can see here in my code view there is the word link. And that's just what we want. We just want to get rid of that word link. So in code view, I've double clicked on the word link, and I just hit delete or backspace. Either one, it's the same thing. And that takes that off. Again, Dreamweaver says, hey, you've made changes to the code. Do you want to refresh it? And I do, so I hit the refresh button. There we go. Now I've got my link icon, and I'm going to use this now to be the link to my home page. So this is a good place to take a break, and I'm going to choose Save All from my standard toolbar, and then we'll come back.